We are currently headed to Telex O2 live in Ikorodu.
Every moment is a teachable moment.
Become very intimate with generosity. Walk into more rooms asking how can I help.
Hey guys, so I finally made my hair. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Melody Adeshola. We are currently headed to Telex O2 live in Ikorodu. So let me take you along.
Easy money, money, money. Ogaranya, 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 Ogaranya. Easy money, money, money. Ogaranya, Ogaranya.
Right. Mrs. Anonymous, am I right?
Nonsense.
Thank
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Please what's your name, sir?
Back to Telex O2 2023, and I have a beautiful couple here.
Hey, wow, this is actually good news. It means that we are growing. If the number of people that are actually new participants are more than the ones that were there before. So, I mean, clap for yourselves. We are doing well.
Yeah.
Big shout out also to our gold sponsors, So Fresh. The CEO is currently in the building. Please just wait for us.
Relationships, you will not always understand the purpose or the significance of every experience, of every knowledge, of every relationship, of every opportunity. You sitting here today is an experience. You are going to gain knowledge. This Wednesday, 23rd, we launched our 15th location in Adekunle. Next slide. But this was 30 years ago, and it didn't look like it. That's the first location. I cleaned, I did installation myself. That's my wife in the second picture. That was a location about 30 square meter in Ogaranya. And then we moved from that first location. Next slide. For us, it was about small beginning. 2010, the first picture, a day before we opened the outlet, we had just come to the market, me and my wife, we had just come back, came to my 12. We went to buy every single fruit, vegetable, groceries, everything we sold in the shop. Myself and my wife went to the market for the first 4 months. Nobody did it for us. And the other picture is May, when we opened our 13th location, which is in Ibadan. Small beginning, but it is possible if you keep going at it. Next slide. Designing for success. I'm not sure you can see what's on the screen, right? But I was just going through my stuff some few months back, and I stumbled on these notes. These notes were written in 2010, where I was thinking about the business. I was thinking about what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? I don't know if it's your right or your left, you will see one of the pictures where I was saying in 2020, we're going to have 15 locations, right? And I was projecting, I don't know whether it's 215 or 3.7 billion. We didn't achieve 15 locations in 2020, but we have not achieved it in 2023, right? Again, design for success. Plan, design for success. Have a clear vision and write it down. Next slide. Disciplined execution. That's me and my wife. First office. If she has to work, she works. That's the same place. If you guys don't know. And then when she finishes her work, she stands up. I go and do my work. That was how we were doing it. And I tell people, when you start a business, the first thing is not about glamour, right? Focus on what the business is about. I usually say 80% of your money, your resources, your time should be dedicated to driving sales. Forget about offices. All of that thing will come later in the future. Next slide. Again, clear vision and staying focused on that vision. 2010, we opened the first location. The right, the location in Ibadan, like I showed you before. Next slide. Again, just showing the contrast. First location in Port Harcourt. Next slide. The story of growth, the story of impact. But it started from one step, and it started from taking every opportunity and learning from it. It started with being committed to excellence, and then disciplined execution. Today, those are the three things I want to leave you with.
Meet Ogaranya, the visionary founder of Apple Cart Nigeria, founded in 2014. Apple Cart simplifies shopping by delivering fresh groceries to your doorstep. With a belief that customer value is paramount, Ogaranya sees entrepreneurship as a force for transformation. Her journey began with a junior achievement, leading to impactful roles and a commitment to excellence. A pioneer at Winbiz, Ogaranya built monitoring frameworks, demonstrating the power of data to drive impact. A recipient of the Shepherding Scholarship and part of the African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative, her accomplishments shine brightly. With a master's degree from the Imperial College London and a first-class degree from the University of Lagos, she exemplifies dedication. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Ogaranya Arojo, a beacon of innovation, transforming the way we shop and inspiring the world.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me very well? Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here. I'd like to start by thanking the Obutu Archdeaconry Youth Council. I'm actually an Anglican and a member of the Diocese of Lagos West. Shout out, who's from? Okay. All right, so thank you so much for having me. Kelechi was wrong. I actually was not here physically last year. I only attended online, even though Apple Cart, the company where I work, supported Telex 2022. Before I jump right in, I also want to specially acknowledge my mom. Thank you. But distinction is very similar to first class. So the point is, when I overcame, and it was not that day that I now became confident. I'm not going to tell you that. It still happens today. You still have those moments where you're like, in this room, Mr. Balogun is there, Mr. Onodipe is there. What can you really say? But then you remember that you have your authentic self that you can share. So fight inferiority complex or imposter syndrome with confidence. And then my fourth point, you are never too old, right? Some of us don't know where the finish line for us is. You might be aging, you might grow to be 90 years old, but at 30, you have given up.
Leading transformative initiatives in educational technology, learning outcomes, and stakeholder engagement. Before her appointment to Lagos State Cabinet, she was the CEO of Leading Learning Limited, an educational consultancy, and she also served as the Executive Director and CEO of Corona Trust Council. Okay, let's give a standing ovation, please. A standing ovation as we welcome
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please sit down. I'm glad to be in your presence. I must confess I was very nervous. I said, these young people, I don't know, these young people and this old woman. But never forget, we were all once young, right? A lot from you. And what this always tells me is that every moment is a teachable moment. Every moment is a learnable moment. And I'm sure that all of us have taken from the speakers who spoke before us. Now, they've asked me to talk about my life. So I will come at it in a different way. I will start from when I was born till now. And as I go along, I hope some of these lessons will start coming. And those are my siblings before our last born was born. That's me in the middle, I'm the eldest. And I have two brothers, two junior brothers, two junior sisters. Later, my father became a polygamist and he ended up with 11 of us. So I'm the first of my father's 11 children. And I will tell you that's a challenge because I grew up in a very happy, nuclear, small family, loved each other, went to school, did this, did that. Then all of a sudden, life changed and my father married. And you know, I don't need to tell you, but that it could never ever be the same again. That was the beginning of a lot of pain, anger, sorrow, and so on. But I won't go into the details. Suffice to say, it was very tough. But that was my father. My father was like, you know, sorry, your name, is it Onyebuchi? Because the other lady too had your name. So that's how I'm called. Are you Onyebuchi? She's... so you are Onyebuchi. So Onyebuchi said his father was his role model. Despite the marital problems he had, my father was my role model. This is my father. He was Commissioner for Education in Western Nigeria. This is him being sworn in by the governor of Western Nigeria at the time, Brigadier Oluwole Rotimi. My father was a role model to me. A man of immense integrity and straightforwardness. When I met my husband, my father-in-law till the day he died called me Omwe Otoda, the daughter of a good man. He was a good man, straightforward, plain concerning money. And if my father made any money from that commissionership, which he did in 1972 to 70-something, we have not started seeing that money up to today. So he lived within his means. And what he always told us, his children, is that in whatever circumstance in life you find yourself, take it. When it's good, take it. When it is bad, take it as well and go forward with courage. Face it, face any adversity with courage. He made me recite poems. There was one I recited, I used to recite. Courage, brother, do not stumble, though your path is dark as night. There is a star to guide the humble. Trust in God and do the right. So all my life, I will be grateful to this man. In fact, I was afraid when I was coming in that I would cry. Because anytime I talk about him, I always weep. Because I loved him so much. I served in Maiduguri, and you can imagine, he said, I entered UI at the age of 15. So I graduated at 19. And this 19-year-old girl, my father said, go, where did they send you to? Maiduguri. Change it, no. Human beings live there, go. And I went there, I spent a year, but he came 3 times by road to visit me in Maiduguri. And from Ibadan to Maiduguri, I assure you, is a long journey. So So you can see that this was a man who lived by what he believed in. This is my mother today. My mother is that woman who sat there. She's still alive, she's 92. Again, a great role model for me. My mother was one of first 30 women in UI. A very brilliant woman. She was a maths teacher. At the time I was born, both my parents were teachers. My father was a physics teacher, my mother was a maths teacher. So, and believe it or not, I didn't like physics and I wasn't great at maths. So it happens, eh? The genes just didn't come straight to me direct like that. Everything you do will come to an end. The day they dissolved cabinet, the next day my phone went silent. And it's been silent since then, except in the past few days when all sorts of people should not talk to me started talking to me. So I want you to remember that you have, being proactive means having a focus, a vision for your life. Why am I here? You are not meant to come and go. You are meant to do something on earth. And the good Lord has given you everything you need to be that person that you need to be. So begin every activity, old boys meeting, office meeting, party, anything with the end in mind. That's why me, when I dance, it's my own way of doing exercise. So that's my end in mind for that activity. Even bringing up your children, marrying a man, marrying a woman. Why am I marrying this girl? She's fine. She will not always be fine. Why am I marrying this man? When I married my husband, his afro was as big as this. Today, he is totally bald. So begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. Prioritize. Like someone told me, call yourself by the name God calls you. Don't call yourself by the name people are calling you. So call yourself now by the name that God has called you into this world to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
You should see outlets such as BBC, Al Jazeera, AFP, and Emerson. To date, Chess and Slums Africa has impacted over 10,000 children's lives and secured fully funded educational scholarships for over 500 children to local and international institutions. As an eloquent speaker and advocate for harnessing potentials from humble beginnings, Tunde Onokoye has shared his passion and vision on various platforms, and we are lucky for us to be one of those. And his efforts has earned him numerous accolades, including the Future Awards African Prize for Community Action in 2021, the Business Insider Award for Social Entrepreneur of the Year in 2022, the JCI 10 Outstanding Young Persons of Nigeria Award for contribution to children, world peace, and on human rights in 2022, and also the Force of Social Good by Trend Up Award in 2022. Please, let us give a standing ovation. Keep clapping until he gets here.
A place that seems almost irrelevant to the world. We grew up there. So I just had that moment of epiphany that look at all of these children. They will never get to know what they can truly become. And that is one of the greatest tragedies of life, of poverty, of maybe even being Nigerian, is that you don't get to build capacity because there are no systems in place to help you reach that truest potential that you have, that is still in it. So, but chess gave me a lifeline, right? And I began to see the world differently because of it. So I said I was going to do the same thing for the children. Instead of working with the rich kids in private schools, let me work with these ones that don't even have access to the classrooms. So I resigned from church and I said, I'll devote it to coming to Nigeria to teach children that don't go to school, those children that were smoking, how to play chess. I didn't know what it was going to do for them. There was no end in mind. What I knew was going to give them an identity. I remember what I said about identity at the beginning, an intellectual identity. And that is my first, maybe my first bullet point, an identity. And I'm just drawing this parallel back to, our thing, emerging from this small place to become a global leader, right? Now, When you tell people you are from Ikorodu, we know the joke. That place is in Ogun State now. This and all of that. Now, giving the children an identity was changing the entire premise. To go from children from poverty that look like this, that are entitled clothes, to children that have the capacity to also be intellectually inclined. And I'll leave this with this final words that I penned down. And this is what has helped me. I've been in a lot of rooms. Remember, I only did my end in Yabate. I never went back to collect my certificate. In fact, my mom still says that I didn't really go to school like that. But listen, all of that doesn't matter. I've spoken with people. I've been in rooms with Tony Elumelu, with so many people around the world. Last year, I won over 17 awards. I said, it's okay. I don't want awards anymore because they don't validate the work that I do. Right? And awards are great because it feels good to be seen, to be heard. And some of you might get to that point that you did something exceptional and you get your moment in the spotlight. And this is what I want you to remember when you get into that spotlight. And this will be my final words. Become very intimate with generosity. Walk into more rooms asking, how can I help? Remember Ranko from 3 Idiots who said, pursue excellence and success will follow you what? Pants down. Find what you love and do it with great excellence. The work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. And if you haven't found it yet, keep looking. As with all matters of the art, you know once you find it. Keep looking and never settle. Even when the awards or recognition don't come, you'll understand that it doesn't validate the work you're doing anyway. Someday, all of the sacrifices will add up and it will count for something. And when the universe, and when God finally aligns for you, you realize that there are indeed decades when nothing happens. And there are weeks when decades happen. And in those decades when nothing happens, learn, unlearn, build capacity. So when your decade in a week happens, you'll be ready for it. And one day, the spotlight will shine on you. And you get a chance to prove your mettle and show the world what you're made of. The world will hear your story and marvel. The world will hear your Ikorodu story and marvel. Until then, live your life as if everything is a miracle. The world awaits your greatness, and I will always be rooting for you.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.